The story begins with the fact that our hero Qin Chen is introduced to us and he is an orphan since childhood. Mr. Lin was engaged in his upbringing and maintenance, and that's why even the servants in this house look up to him and can't wait for him to disappear. And he didn't know why, but Mr. Lin was so insistent on his and his granddaughter's marriage. After all, she also looked down on him for all the 3 years that have passed since their wedding. She never allowed herself to be touched, did not say more than one affectionate word to him. A few days ago, her sisters organized a real conspiracy against him. They kicked him out of the house, referring to the fact that he harassed his daughter-in-law, and they even found people to beat him up. But this was the impetus for its passage. And then he shows us a huge and golden dragon. He was saying something to Qin Chen, but he didn't understand and shaking his head asked who was talking. The dragon looked at him menacingly and asked how a dragon child could live such a miserable life. He's ashamed of him. Qin Chen, looking at him, began to tremble and asked who he was. The dragon sarcastically repeated after him his question of who he was. Suddenly the picture changes and we are shown a mountain of skeletons. On it stood an unknown man with horns and a dragon's tail. He said it was good that he had other heirs and Qin Chen would not get anything. Qin Chen sitting on his knees, he asked his father. A bright green light came out of the dragon's hands and he sent it straight to the guy saying that today he would inherit only his blood and he hoped that he would not disappoint him. The picture moves to the real world, where Qin Chen wakes up in the hospital. He was brought here by Su Wan. When he started moving he would be asked where he was. Su Wan told him not to move because he was seriously injured. He stood up and thought that the sacred writings of healers, the secret art of cultivating immortals, knowledge about this world. Was he really the son of a dragon? And what will happen now? All this time, a green light was coming out of the guy, healing his wounds, and the girl was informed that the doctor had arrived. Turning to the guy, she said that well, since the doctor came, she would go and added that he would also leave as soon as he recovered. Qin Chen thanked her for saving him. And at this time his wounds had completely gone away. He asked Su Wan what her name was and said his name and added that he would definitely repay her debt. Seeing that he didn't have a single wound left, Su Wan was a little surprised, but then she said that he didn't need to know her name. And besides, she did it for Grandpa. Qin Chen didn't understand what she meant. Su Wan tearfully said that her grandfather has an incurable disease. The doctor gave him an ultimatum, and she hoped that she would be able to exchange good deeds for a couple of days of life for him. And then Qin Chen said that he knew a little about medicine and asked her if he could examine her grandfather. They show us a big beautiful room where an old man was sitting in a wheelchair and a doctor was standing in front of him. He told him that everything was not so serious for him. Then he would break through the course and it would become easier for him. And then our main character appears out of nowhere and says that this is not so. After all, he is definitely not well. If not treated properly, he will be in danger. Su Wan said, "Don't tell him nonsense unless her grandfather can." The doctor got angry and told him to stop talking because he is the best doctor in this city. And pointing at him, I asked him what kind of misunderstanding he was. If he said the old man was fine, then he was fine. Qin Chen looked at him and asked if something went wrong would he take responsibility. And the doctor confidently said that of course he does not make mistakes. And then suddenly the old man started coughing up blood and he felt sick. Su Wan quickly ran up to him and asked the doctor what was going on. Didn't he say that her grandfather was fine? Then the doctor started to get nervous and said he didn't know. After all, he was just fine and why did he suddenly feel bad? Su Wan shouted at him to call 120. They are standing like a pillar. Qin Chen said that there was no need because it was already too late. And squatting down, he measured his temperature and said that his body was so exhausted that he could no longer hold on. Su Wan tearfully asked him that if he saved her grandfather, their family would never forget it. After all, if he does not become, then she does not know what she will do next. Then Qin Chen decided to use his new strength. He thought that if good people were not rewarded, soon they would simply be gone. And he decided that he had to save him. And then the light and the silhouette of the dragon began to come out of it. He was able to heal the old man. He coughed a little, and Su Wan was excited, asked how he was. And the doctor, standing on the sidelines, was thinking how this Qin Chen did it all. Qin Chen breathed a sigh of relief and sat down on the floor. Grandpa said he would never forget his kindness, and asked what he wanted, to which Qin Chen smiled and said that he didn't need anything. After all, if Miss Su hadn't saved him, he would already be dead. Su Wan smiled and leaned over and said that in any case they should be grateful. When they stood up, Su Wan introduced himself. Her name was Su Wan, and asked his name. After all, Qin Chen is right. Qin Chen excitedly said that it was so and he was glad to meet. And then he thought what a nice Su Wan. He only mentioned his name once, and she remembered it. And then Su Wan took him aside and asked how many years her grandfather would live. Hearing this, grandfather smiled and said that he would live as long as he was allotted. And don't talk about it. And he told the guy that he wanted to have dinner with them today. Qin Chen began to dissuade saying that he did not take a shower. And then a message from his wife comes to him. It said that he was living. Even the group could not get rid of him. and if he doesn't want trouble, then let him disappear. Qin Chen was thinking what to tell them and what to do next. After looking at them, he said that he had things to do, so he would go. And after he deals with everyone, he will come to visit him. Su Wan told him to give him a lift and they set off by car. The old man called his assistant and told him that when it comes to family, you should be more careful, and instructed him to trust the guy. Qin Chen entered the hall and immediately began to tell him where he had been all this time. It was his wife. Qin Chen wanted to say something, but she interrupted him and said that she was not in the mood to listen to his stories, since he left their family. Then let him sign the divorce papers, and grinning nastily, she added that she needed to introduce them. Sitting down next to the man, she said that it was Mr. Yang from some coffin of her future husband, and she asked sarcastically, "He's not really jealous. After all, she never considered him her husband, so it's not cheating." And she started laughing, to which King Chen said that of course this is not considered treason. After all, he literally served her in everything for several years, and she treated him as her slave. This relationship should have ended a long time ago. To which Su Wan, the re-elector, looking at him, asked what he was talking about. Serve honor to him. And pointing to the documents, she told him to sign quickly and get out of here. After signing the documents, Qin Chen threw them in her face and said that from today he has nothing to do with their family. When he came out, Su Wan ran after him and shouted that he was allowing himself. And then she called him from the Lancers. Qin Chen heard her and asked so she didn't leave. And awkwardly scratching his hair, he said that he did not know that she was still here. To which Su Wan replied that it was okay. After all, her grandfather had just called her. He had some business with him and told him to get in the car. Seeing this, his wife and her future husband said irritably that Su Wan is very beautiful and how this jerk picked up such a beautiful girl. He probably hired an actress. The painting moves to the Su estate. The old man's assistant said he had checked everything. Qin Chen turns out to be an orphan and his upbringing was handled by Mr. Lin. And then he married him to one of his granddaughters. The old man asked, "Is this the Lin family from the capital?" To which the assistant replied that no, it was the Lin family from Bengshan. The old man said he had never heard of them, and he asked, so he doesn't have anything. To which his assistant replied that all these years he had just been serving the Lin family. He had no medical experience. The old man exhaled heavily and said that he seemed to have overestimated Qin Chen. But then how did he manage to heal him? Must have been just lucky. And he added that he thinks it's worth inviting Dr. Sun. Qin Chen and Su Wang come home. Qin Chen apologized in embarrassment and said he needed to pack up. He would go to her grandfather as soon as he was done. To which Su Wan, leaving the room, said that if he needed anything, he could just say. As soon as the door closed behind Su Wan, Qin Chen locked it and began to blame himself for what he was thinking when he just took and cured a person. And what should he do now and how should he justify himself? And he firmly decided for himself that this should not happen again. Moving to a meditative position, he began to activate his power. Blue books began to fly in front of him with some notes. He thought that his medical skills were really serious. Their effectiveness depends on the amount of spiritual power he possesses. And then he noticed the book of 10,000 ways in front of him. This book is about making an immortality pill, and he should definitely help him. Qin Chen went outside, saw a maid, and asked her for some herbs in a pot. The picture moves to the old man's room where the doctor arrived. The old man excitedly asked if there was no other option, to which they were upset. He said that if he were 10 years younger, they could try to make a transfusion, but he was afraid that his body would not stand it. Su Wan squatted down and asked Grandpa why he wouldn't let the guys examine him again. After all, you need to try if there is at least a little hope. To which he replied that it was God's will. There's no escaping death anyway. The only thing he will regret is that he did not find her a good home. And then the room exploded, Qin Chen apologizing for being late. In his hands was a round pill of dark purple light. Qin Chen pointed at the pill and told the old man to try this. The doctor was outraged because this pill stank a lot. Qin Chen is confused but said that it is a traditional herb made from local herbs. He did it one time, but he assured the old man that this pill would definitely cure him. And then the doctor, looking at him from high, asked who he thinks he is, God or something. Isn't that a lump of dirt? To which Qin Chen replied that of course not. And he confidently said that even if it does not look the best, but the effect will definitely not disappoint them. And he doesn't have any other options anyway, does he? To which his granddaughter also told him to try, why not? The old man doubtfully said how he could swallow something that stinks so much. And then the doctor, examining this pill, said that it really is made of traditional herbs. There will definitely be no harm from it. If this can cure Mr. Sun, then he will apologize to the guy and will call us his master. To which Qin Chen replied by hand and said that but he must keep his word. Mr. Su was a little doubtful, but still decided that if it didn't hurt him, then he could try. And the doctor also said that he did not think that this black lump was capable of curing anything at all. After Mr. Su swallowed it, he immediately felt energized. It's like a light spring breeze blows over him and strength runs through his veins. He noted with admiration that he felt it. Su Wan excitedly asked how he was feeling, and the doctor said it was impossible, and he noted with disbelief that Mr. Su not only recovered but also became younger, and now they can give him a transfusion. The doctor, delighted, asked the guy what kind of pill it was, to which he replied that it was a secret. Mr. Su could already stand on his feet, and approaching Qin Chen, he told him that he was his savior, and he added that from today this villa belongs to him. To which, when Qin Chen began to refuse, grandfather irritably asked if his life was worth less than this villa. Qin Chen didn't know what to say and still decided to take this gift and thanked him for it. Looking at the large villa in front of him, Qin Chen said that today was more like a dream. And then he heard a voice behind him. It was his ex-wife Lin Qin Chen, and she sarcastically asked why he was following her. They divorced and he continues to follow her. When Qin Chen turned around, he saw his ex-wife Lin Qin Chen with her future husband Yang. And then Qin Chen said that he actually lives here. Hearing this, everyone started laughing. His ex-wife Lin Qin Chen, embarrassed, said that he was really a joker, and beggars have a special sense of humor. And her husband Yang ordered some king Hu to deal with him. And then a tall man came out among the people, and he said that at such a moment he was trying to protect the girl. And he said they would see how far he was willing to go. To which he heard the phrase, and they have some kind of special one. And then he was horrified and realized who he was standing in front of. He recognized the girl. And she also asked him since when he has been friends with such people. Let him listen to her carefully and so that she doesn't see them here anymore. To which the man quickly and excitedly said that he would teach those two a lesson. When the woman shouted to him what he was doing, the man hit her and told her to shut up. And he said he would show her her place. And Qin Chen and Su Wan went home. The husband of Qin Chen's ex-wife asked why he was so scared. Who is this Su Wan anyway? To which he paled and said that it was Miss Su from the same Su family. Su Wan ate all the dishes in front of her with an appetite. Qin Chen, smiling good-naturedly, brought her even more food. Su Wan said that his food is even tastier than that of his personal chef. Su Wan, looking at Qin Chen, said that his body was so strong, and she did not understand how his wife decided to divorce. After all, he is a handsome doctor and modest. Well, Qin Chen said that in fact they had not even slept with her once. Hearing this, Su Wan was a little indignant, and then she already thought that it turns out she has a chance. Both of them blushed and immediately turned away from each other. Qin Chen still sat down next to her, and they both started eating all the dishes. Su Wan smiled and thought that in any case, she still had a lot of time. The picture moves to the car interior where Su Wan was sitting, and the driver told her that this guy doesn't have a very good reputation. He understands her nobility, but she should not get close to him. To which Su Wan asked what was wrong. To which the driver replied that she was the eldest granddaughter of the Su family, a real pearl of her family. This Qin Chen is nothing and there is no way to call him. To which Su Wan seriously told him that, and he was just a chauffeur. Who is he to judge others? And besides, he had saved her grandfather. To which the driver awkwardly fell silent. Su Wan, looking through the window of nature, thought that she was sure by the end of the month this Qin Chen would definitely become famous and get rich. 3 days later, we are shown a beautiful and dense forest, and we are shown how Qin Chen sat on the ground and activated his power to practice them. He was inside the circle, and on the borders of the circle there were a lot of inscriptions and Chinese characters. A silhouette of a golden dragon appeared in the guy's hands, but then he quickly ran out of steam. He said that the energy of this mountain is not enough, but fortunately, a lot of spirits gather here. He hoped that it wouldn't take long to perfect it this way. But this was not enough. It was necessary to become stronger sooner in order to win the girl. After all, he needed a legal way to marry Su Wan. And then he thought confusedly. He didn't fall in love. He's a poor, divorced, antisocial person. Is he worthy of such a beautiful girl? But looking at the sky, he told himself that one day he would get to the top and become a man worthy of it. He stood on a rock and looked at the city in which there were many tall buildings. And then someone called him downstairs and told him to get out. Qin Chen looked there and asked himself what was going on there. When he went down, in front of the gate of the villa, he saw that Yan with several of his men who were holding batons in their hands. Then Yang asked where Su Wan was, pretending to be his patroness. And then one of his people said that he was lucky that they hadn't smeared him yesterday. The other said that if he touches brother Yan, he will not live. And then Qin Chen calmly and indifferently told them to slow down a little. After all, first of all, the original real owner of this villa is Mr. Su. Would he give it to him just like that? No. This means that they are in close friendly relations with him. He just thinks it would be worth reminding them of something. Those people didn't understand what he was talking about. One asked the other, he at least understood something. It was too many words. Qin Chen looked at them and said that it was unlikely that they would get away with breaking into the Su family's territory and touching him, wasn't it? Then all the guys got confused and looked and asked their boss what to do next. He was sitting and smoking on the sidelines. He immediately dropped his cigarette and shouted at the guys to do it. And he takes full responsibility for himself. Qin Chen sighed and said that they did not listen to his advice. When one of them approached him, he immediately hit him in the face so hard that a tooth came out of him and he flew off to the side. The guys were shocked by his strength and one of them said that they could not defeat him. And he's already gotten the face here. Yan shouted to them they must fight. They want a secure old age. And then his phone vibrated with a call. Jan picked up the phone and asked irritably who it was, to which, on the other side of the tube, he heard the voice of his future wife Lin Qinchenya. She said that her grandfather was dying and he needed to come to the hospital urgently. Upon hearing this, Qin Chen abruptly asked what happened to Mr. Lin, to which Jan said that it was none of his business. The affairs of their family do not concern him, and that he should not be in the hospital. Sitting down, he left. Qin Chen sadly thought that despite all the bullying, Mr. Lin was his savior, the man who raised him. And by the way, that doctor is probably still in town. Maybe you can ask him for help. And then he looked at the bandits and asked them if they had a car. They quickly chattered what they had. Qin Chen told them to drop him off at the hospital. The picture moves to the hospital where Lin Qin Chen, holding the doctor's hands, asked if he couldn't think of something. She will pay him any money. To which the doctor said it wasn't about the money. Their hospital is simply not capable of performing an operation of this level. And then Jan, taking out a large amount of money, gave the doctor and menacingly said that just let him last another week. And when they're done with the preparation, it won't matter if he's alive or dead. And then Qin Chen appeared behind them with the doctor. He said it was Dr. Sun from the capital. Can he use his operating room? And then the doctors shook hands and that doctor said that since Dr. Sun came here, he would arrange everything. And looking at Yang and Lin, Qin Chen said that let them leave because they would only get in the way. Lin Qin Chen was saying how this piece of trash knows such a person. Yan was angry and said that sooner or later he would kill him. We are shown a picture where the old man and his granddaughter Su Wan were sitting on the balcony of the villa. The old man asked what she thought of Qin Chen, to which Su Wan Krasnov said that nothing of the kind. The old man smiled and said that he had lived a long life, so it was not so easy to deceive him. Su Wan sat down next to him and asked if she started dating him, would he approve of it, to which he replied that if she wanted it, he would arrange everything. And then Su Wan asked, so in 3 days they will invite him, to which the old man said that he would do anything for her. For him, the main thing is that he can bear this responsibility. Su Wan said that if he agrees, she will tell everyone publicly about it. The person that the Lin family doesn't need is needed by her. The doctor came out of the operating room and told Qin Chen not to worry. After all, the operation was successful and tomorrow he will be able to return home. Qin Chen thanked him for his work and told him to do without him, to which he patted him on the shoulder and said if he wanted to help, he could just give him what he needed. And Qin Chen confusedly said that he didn't know. Even though he grew up in this family, he was treated worse there than a dog. So now, after the divorce, you definitely didn't trust him with it. And so I had to do just that. To which the doctor told him what he was talking about at all, because he was his master, and he will be able to call him by name. Qin Chen was even more embarrassed by this. And then Ian came up to him with those bandits. Qin Chen had already indifferently said, "You'll remember shit to the doctor, that's it." And then a man with blonde hair and dressed in a black kimono appeared out of nowhere and approached them and was called Qin Hu. When Yang wanted to shake Qin Hu's hand, but he bypassed him and approached Qin Chen and Yang was left in complete shock from this. Qin Hu took off his glasses and said that if it was over, he could take him home. Ian didn't understand what was going on here at all. Qin Hu bowed to Qin Chen and said that he had organized a small banquet in his honor, and he hopes that he will visit him. Qin Chen said that he wasn't even interested in such events. And then Qin Hu sat on his knees and begged him, said that Miss Su Wang said that if he did not agree, she did not want to see him in the city and asked him for help. Those bandits also knelt down and begged him for help. Ian got angry, not understanding what was happening to them. When Qin Chen heard Su Wang's name, he said that if for her sake he would go there and asked him the time and address. Qin Hu and all the bandits tearfully thanked him and gave him VIP invitations. And those bandits who were standing whispered to each other that they should be more careful with him. Jen got angry and shouted at them to get out of here and as far away as possible. Yang looked disdainfully at Qin Chen and called someone and told him to prepare everything and not to give him a ride. We are shown a picture where there was a huge multi-story hotel in the city center. Next to the hotel there was a big river. The name of the hotel was Palace. It was the most luxurious 6-star hotel in Bingcheng. The people that live in it are the real elite of society. There were luxuriously dressed people inside the hotel. And our main character Qin Chen was dressed simply in a white t-shirt with black jeans and he was looking for a girl. And then he heard someone call him from behind. It was Zhang Hua, a classmate of Qin Chen, and he had brown hair. He was dressed in a gray suit with a blue shirt and a purple tie. A rich heir, the relationship between them was tense. And next to him was his Su Wang Zhu Zio. She also studied with Qin Chen. She looked very aristocratic. She had purple hair, and she was wearing a black and red dress and had a yellow necklace around her neck. She was a real sycophant and once said that Qin Chen would never succeed in life. Zhang Hua looked at him with a grin and asked if he had come to the class meeting, but he didn't remember anyone calling him. Zhu Zio added that since he had already come, let him chat together, to which Qin Chen said that he was looking for a man. Hearing that, this Zhu Zio laughed and said that he had an appointment with someone else. Didn't he come here to beg forgiveness from his ex-wife and start laughing out loud? And he added that this time he could not climb higher than the janitor. Looking at Zhu Zio, Qin Chen said that in the years that they had not seen each other, she had hardly changed. And he also added, except that there were more wrinkles. To which Zhu Zio got angry and said how could he talk to her like that? He had forgotten who she was. Qin Chen looked at her with indifference. Zhu Zio said who is he in addition to the brother heir and could not stand it. She wanted to hit Qin Chen, but another Su Wang with glasses and pink hair, dressed in a white shirt and a red skirt, intervened. She said, is it appropriate to arrange fights in a place like this? Zhu Zio is the former headman and told her to be above it. This girl's name was Gong Yao. She was the person who took care of Qin Chen while studying at the university. Zhang Hua grinned and asked what is it? After all, this is his brother's house and he can do what he wants. And approaching Gong Yao, he added that no matter what he did to her now, no one would say a word to him. And then Zhang Hua received a strong blow to the face. It was Qin Chen. He purposely innocently said that something seemed to have got into his hand. Gong Yao excitedly said that he was too impulsive, and he shouldn't have gotten into it. To which Qin Chen smiled and said that today they were laughing at her and tomorrow they would laugh at other Su Wanmi. They should be taught a good lesson and told not to worry about him, and no one will touch her. Zhu Zio, holding her lover, viciously shouted to Qin Chen that she would not only blow his head off, but also bury him right here. And he told his guards to take him. And then someone said loudly, who dared? Zhang Hua abruptly got up from his seat and addressing his brother, he said let him explain and wanted to tell everything. But he quickly approached Qin Chen and asked if he was all right, to which he replied that everything was fine. King Hu looked at the girl and apologized for what had happened. Seeing this, Zhang Hua and his wife Zhu Zio went into shock. Zhang Hua excitedly said that he didn't know that Qin Chen was his friend. Zhu Zio asked with fear, he will let them go. To which King Hu glared at them and said that of course he would let them go. And then looking at Zhu Zio, he said she wanted to bury someone here. First you need to get rid of the floor right. And looking at his guard, he told him to get started. The women were horrified as it is possible. And immediately, she knelt down and began to beg Qin Chen's forgiveness and begged for the sake of their shared past to spare her. To which Qin Chen, leaving, said that she would forgive him, but she did not deserve it. The painting moves to another room of the hotel. It was huge and luxurious. In the center of the room was a round table and many chairs. King Hu and Qin Chen were sitting in front of the table, and his guards were standing next to the door. King Hu gave gifts to Qin Chen and said that he would accept it from the bottom of his heart. Qin Chen looked at the gifts and said that tobacco and alcohol were not interesting to him, and so he will only take this black card, and still asked what was going on, and then he thought that he hoped that no more gifts would follow. King Hu replied that the Su family was planning a business party, which would be attended by all the bigwigs of the city, to which Qin Chen said he wasn't the only one who received the invitation, right? King Hu stammered and said that he was not the only one. And yes, he had to invite the Samlin family and now he's afraid that he insulted Miss Su, and tearfully asked Qin Chen not to think bad and do him a favor. Qin Chen said that he would be happy to help and wanted to add something, but King Hu quickly interrupted him and thanked him. He said he knew he would help him. And immediately his guards opened a poster where a city plan was drawn. King Hu pointed out here that he has a shopping street, and I asked him if he thought it would be enough if he gave it to him. Qin Chen indifferently said that yes, he could try to control her, but he added that he did not have high hopes for him. Inside, Qin Chen was very happy since the whole shopping street was now his. How many things there are for improvement can be found, and King Hu thanked him for it. It was already night. The stars were visible in the sky and they shone brightly, attracting to themselves. Qin Chen stood and looked at them. He recently spoke on the phone with Zhang Hua and with Zhu Zio. They asked him for forgiveness if something went wrong, and then his phone vibrated again from the call. He saw that it was his grandfather Lin. When he picked up the phone, he heard his grandfather's voice in that direction. He seriously said that he needed to talk to him. Qin Chen came to visit his grandfather Lin. His grandfather was lying in bed. He looked at Qin Chen with regret and said that he treated him like that, but he came anyway, and he was grateful for that. To which Qin Chen told him to never say that. After all, if it weren't for him, maybe he wouldn't be alive right now. And then Grandpa told him that he had called him to talk about it. He said he wasn't really an orphan. 20 years ago, when their family was fishing, he met a strange man by the sea. He was standing on the water surface, and there was not a drop of fear in his eyes in the face of warships. During the fierce battle, all the warships were destroyed. He was like an invincible god of war. After the battle, he entrusted him with something. It was our main character, Qin Chen. The man told him he would pick him up when his wounds healed, and the man had long brown hair and he was wearing a black raincoat. Grandpa Lin continued his story. He said, however, the next 20 years flew by like an instant. It was thanks to his blessing that the Lin family took its current position. And Grandpa Lin crying told Qin Cheng that their Lin family was so guilty in front of him. But for his sake, couldn't he at least have lunch with him? To which Qin Chen said that he promised to do it. The day has come. Qin Chen arrived at the Su family's estate. He showed the old man the pills he had prepared and said that the main function of this pill is to replenish the life force by replenishing the Kai energy in his body. The old man smiled and said that he would accept it, and then they heard the words addressed to the old man. He found another treasure. 4 men entered their room. At their head was a man with a mustache and a black robe. His name was Huang Lung. After looking at the pills, Qin Cheng said he didn't think anyone else was capable of producing such a thing. And I asked him where he learned it. Qin Chen bowed as a sign of respect and said his name that he was somewhere on the 2nd level of Kai purification, and he has no family or clan. To which Huang Lung smiled and asked if his abilities could have come from nowhere. And approaching him, I asked his ability if it had a demonic essence, and then Su Wan intervened and said that it was impossible. After all, he cured his grandfather in front of witnesses. How can this be something bad? The man said that there are many ways to turn things like this happen. It can be cured both with the help of the gifts of earth and heaven and with the help of miasma and poisonous insects. She hadn't seen him practice, so where did the conclusions about his innocence come from? He asked the girl. To which she replied that he himself had no proof to the contrary. The men looked at her annoyingly and said something right. And then analyzing her words quickly asked what she said. To which Qin Chen, spinning next to him, said that he was too tense and advised him to relax. Let him keep his back straighter. And he relaxed his legs. Angry, the man threw out energy from himself, from which Qin Chen flew away. Huang Long fiercely told him to stop talking and let the force judge them. To which Qin Chen shook his head negatively and said that he was a friend of Mr. Su. If he gets hurt, he won't be able to look him in the eye. From his words, the man became enraged and asked how he hurt himself. If he manages to even touch it, he will recognize its power. Qin Chen sighed wearily and asked for forgiveness in advance and got into a fighting pose. And then they started attacking each other using their powers. After a while, the men were already lying on the floor. The old man hesitantly said that he did not think that Qin Chen would be so good. To which he confusedly said that he was still weak. And then Su Wang came up to him and asked him if he had hurt himself. Like his arm doesn't hurt. Qin Chen confusedly said that everything was fine and it didn't hurt at all. And then Su Wan pinched his hand and said menacingly that he scared the hell out of her. After all, Mr. Huang is strong. If he had lost, he would have left the house only feet first. Qin Chen, on the other hand, screamed in pain and said that you were really hurting him now. He shifted to smiled and said that as she could see he was standing firmly on his feet, so there was no need to worry about anything. To which Su Wan was dissatisfied. She said that she would also hope in the future. After the question in the future, Su Wan realized that she had blurted out too much and turned away and said that it just occurred to her. They were both standing on the balcony and Qin Chen asked the girl if they could invite another person to their business meeting. Su Wan asked who, to which he replied to Qin Hu, and he added that he did not insist. If it's inconvenient, then it's okay. Su Wan replied it's not difficult to add an extra plate and a couple of chopsticks. And taking his hand, she asked him what kind of relationship they had with him. Qin Chen asked in confusion what she was talking about. And then Su Wan annoyance asked him that he had not decided these days, and deliberately swung to hit him. Qin Chen hesitantly told her not to hit him. And then Su Wan seriously told him if there would be bullying in the future for days whether he would help her. To which Qin Chen confidently promised that as long as she was with him, no one would dare to touch her. And then suddenly an old man burst into their conversation and joyfully told the guy that he had crushed 100-year-old rare medicinal plants for him. Qin Chen was confused but surprised to hear this. The old man added that he bought it at auction. Su Wan asked Grandpa to let the guy go with her, to which the old man said, and she is not afraid that he will be cut into pieces there. And they both looked at the guy and said that he had to be changed. Qin Chen and Su Wang had already gone shopping to buy the guy more suitable clothes. Looking at them, Qin Chen asked, "This is such an expensive place, is it normal?" Su Wan replied that there was nothing wrong with that. After all, everyone is greeted by clothes if he is well dressed. The others will not look down on him. And taking one of the suits, she told the guy to try it on. Dressed in a suit, Qin Chen asked how she thought about it. To which Su Wan, with tanned eyes, said why she hadn't noticed earlier that he was my real model. It suits him very well what he wore, and began to inundate him with compliments. Qin Chen was embarrassed and said that he didn't need that much. And then Yang and Qin Chen's ex-wife appeared in front of them again. Lin Qin Chen mockingly asked him that he had become a kept woman. Yang looked at Qin Chen and asked, he heard that he was going to the auction. He decided to warn him right away so that I wouldn't be awkward for him there, but he would buy everything. To which Su Wan coldly looked at him and sarcastically asked if she would buy everything. It sounds ridiculous, and who will pay for all this? The painting is moved to the auction room. Yang and Lin Qincheng were already sitting in the hall, and they bought something for $1.5 million. The auctioneer only wanted to sell him this thing, but someone shouted $5 million. Everyone looked in that direction in surprise. It was Su Wan. Lin Qincheng indignantly said to me that he raised the bid, to which he said that it was nonsense because for $5 million you can buy a villa. And Qincheng asked Su Wan if it was too much. Su Wan replied that everything was fine. This thing was sold for her. Everyone congratulated her on receiving the ownership of eternal love, and everyone left for a 15-minute break. Lin Qincheng caught up with them and indignantly shouted that she wanted to buy this ring for her wedding. Yes, they have no conscience. To which Qincheng said that it didn't work out. If a person with a character is shit, then the ring should be the same, shouldn't it? Lin Qincheng got angry. I wanted to say something. Yang stopped her and feigned kindness told Su Wan that he didn't think she would like this ring either. If he had known in advance, he would have immediately given in to her. To which Su Wan arrogantly asked if they were trying to make friends with her. And then one of the workers came to her with a ring and said that it was a ring that she had purchased. She took the ring and asked who said she liked this ring. And that Lin Qincheng looked at Yang and asked if he would just watch her mock them. Su Wan added, she just doesn't think that their couple deserves the name of this ring. And she doesn't like rings with such a design. Having said these words, she threw the rings into the river. If they need it so much, then they can go there and get it. Lin Qincheng looked at Yang and said that she didn't throw away the ring. She's just mocking them. Yan, looking after them, told her not to worry. After all, he will definitely buy her the final auction lot. And I thought what kind of person this Su Wan was, since she threw away a $5 million ring so easily. Qincheng looked at Su Wang and said that it was a pity that she threw away such a good ring. To which Su Wan replied that it was nothing. After all, there are plenty of such rings. Qincheng sighed and said that he still did not understand them, the rich. Su Wan said it was necessary. And then they heard the collector's voice. He said that they were about to show the final lot of their auction and asked the guests to sit down in their place. Su Wan said that a person who tries to humiliate another person will be humiliated first. Qincheng wanted to say something, but Su Wan looked at the lot and said what a beautiful necklace. The necklace was beautiful and it had a big blue diamond on it. Su Wan said it was a pity that this was not the right plant. Well, never mind, they'll try their luck next time. Qincheng looked at Su Wan and said that she should only wear a beautiful necklace, and he wants to buy her this necklace. The sale began. The price rose again to $5 million. Qincheng offered $5 million for this necklace. Hearing this, people whispered that number 8 was making a big bet again. And another said what kind of person is ready to pay such a sum right off the bat. Yang was wondering why this Qincheng was holding the number, and why Su Wan is not doing anything and he needs this necklace. And raising his sign, he offered $5.5 million. And Qincheng overcame it and offered $6 million. He thought that on the card that he received a gift there are $10 million and plus $35 million profits from the shopping street. And even if he spends more than half of the money to buy the plant will remain. It was a win-win for him. Jan, on the other hand, thought viciously that he was still competing for him and said mentally let's see how long he will last. And he offered $6.5 million. The price has increased to $8.5 million. Jan, on the other hand, thought viciously that he would see how his ridiculous struggle would end. Qincheng sighed and raised the sign and offered $20 million. Everyone was shocked by the price. And of course the necklace was sold on it. The auctioneer congratulated them on obtaining ownership of the crystal kiss and thanked everyone present for their time. And people were sitting in shock again, number 8, and wondered who he was. And they said that they needed to introduce themselves to him as soon as possible. Qincheng and Su Wang ran to avoid being stopped by people running around the parking lot. They quickly got into their car. Qincheng smiled and said that it was like they were playing spies, to which Su Wan said that he was able to surprise so many people in one fell swoop. He has a great future, to which Qincheng said that it was all thanks to her. And while no one interrupted them, Qincheng asked if he could put this necklace on her. Therefore, she, and from pressing the conditional, Su Wan embarrassment said that did he need to ask. Qincheng had hoped for her this necklace. Su Wan asked how he was, to which Qincheng cautiously said that it was very beautiful, and then, with a serious face, he asked her if in the future he would be able to stand on his feet firmly, whether she would agree to marry him. To which Su Wan replied that when a person likes someone, she doesn't care about his status. And smiling, she added that she also believes in him and looks forward to the future. Meanwhile, the woman was looking for that ring in the pool. Night came. Qincheng sat in the forest and meditated. The cartoon was surrounded by blue flames. He was married to the 3rd level of Kai purification. He said that she would need a few more days to accumulate energy. And then suddenly his phone was blocked. Picking up the phone, he asked who was calling at such an hour. Hu Side replied that it was Tsinghua, and he said that they had a problem here and could he come here. King Hu and a man with a mustache were standing in front of the construction site. The man said, "The unity of heaven and earth. This place is surrounded by mountains and rivers and they promise wealth. Isn't that a good sign?" And looking at King Hu told him not to worry. There would definitely be no problems. King Hu asked him, calling him Mr. Bai, and then how he would explain what had happened. And then he remembered a picture where some people fell from a great height. He said that it could be called an accident that a worker fell from the scaffolding. But could you hundreds of screws loosen at the same time? And there are practically no people at the facility. Someone is sick who has problems in the family. And there are fewer of them because of what the work is worth. And he wanted to say something. But Qin Chen came to them and said that there was something even more serious here. King Hu was glad that he had come. And Bai asked who he was. Qin Chen asked if it could be in the mountains and rivers. And then they show us how he sees these buildings. The buildings were surrounded by a dark fog. And Qin Chen said that the fog soon descends and forms an accumulation of moisture, no matter how hard they try to fight it. And then King Hu asked what he should do. Why don't they suspend work until they sort out the problem? To which Qin Chen said that there was no need. And he added that the problem is not only this, if it is fixed, then even after the repair, the problems will definitely continue. To which the man is annoyed. But he clicked and said that even he Bai Qian does not have such strength that could help here. And he just appeared out of nowhere and began to give instructions. To which Qin Chen smiled and said that he was young and would not give him instructions. But it doesn't hurt to be careful, does it? Bai told Qin Chen, okay, they'll do as he said. But if it doesn't work out, he will apologize to him. To which Qin Chen said that it was fine and let time judge them. One of the workers began to dig the ground. After digging enough, he asked King Hu he had already dug more than 5 meters to continue. To which he responded positively and told him to keep digging. And he wondered if he would succeed. Why haven't they found anything yet? If they offend Bai Qian, they will not be able to find another such master. And sighing heavily, he reproached himself maybe he shouldn't have called him. And then he heard a shout that the employee had found what they were looking for. Deliver the wooden box showed them to take a look at it. When they opened the box, they saw a strange knife there. King Hu asked if he knew what it was. Bai Qian told him that he knew and told him to calm down. And I asked King Hu if he had accidentally quarreled with anyone recently. To which he shook his head negatively and asked him why. Bai Qian said that this item brings real bloody disasters. This construction site is now cursed. King Hu was horrified and asked what he should do. They would also help him. To which the man said that he could not help in any way, and, after looking at his partner, asked if this Qin Chen could do something. Dark energy was coming out of the knife. Qin Chen studied him from all sides after hearing their conversation and King Hu's request. He still agreed. Qin Chen said that he would take this thing and deal with it himself to avoid unnecessary problems. King Hu thanked him through tears and said that he would do whatever he asked. A man asked him if he can ask where he is from. Such abilities at such a young age are worthy of respect. And that Qin Chen, as always, replied that he had no family or clan, so he told them not to think about it. Bai Qian admired Na, thought it was incredible and why he had not heard of it before. Qin Chen came to the forest with these things, and he thought abruptly that he remembered. He felt this energy from Mr. Su. Maybe someone is targeting their family, and lifting the knife with the help of his power. He destroyed it and thought that tomorrow there would be a meeting, and he refuses to believe that by that time he would not be able to catch the culprit. The day has come. They show us an open stadium and a stage for a concert, and then the reporter said that it was still 4 hours before the start. But they already see a lot of famous faces. The solo event will take place in the garden as they see the last preparation has already been completed, and they will continue them in a live report from the very place of the event. The man looked at the couple and asked Jan what the whole event was about, and he thought that they saw the Lin family as an enemy and wanted to make some impression. To which Ian told him that he was a real sycophant. He had heard that it was all for the sake of some person who had appeared here recently. To which the man said he would rather find out who it was. The ex-wife saw Qin Chen and pointed at him and asked if it wasn't him. And I asked him how he managed to get to such an event. Did he decide to use her family's name to get here? Maybe call her security. To which Qin Chen sarcastically asked if they represented something. Lin Qin Chen got angry and then the guards came up to her. She pointed at Qin Chen and shouted that he was pretending to be a member of her family to get here. To which her guards took her by the hands and said that she didn't belong here. Otherwise, drag her towards the exit. She screamed at them to let her go and said insulting words. And then Su Wang came on stage and told everyone that Qin Chen is the most honored guest of today's event and anyone who does not agree with this can leave here. Sometimes some guy probably grumbles and the man wondered how cynical the guest of honor is. Maybe the person everyone was talking about is him. Qin Chen came on stage and Su Wang told everyone that today she would like to introduce one person to them. And she introduced them to Qin Chen. Everyone was shocked to see the guy. Someone said that he was lucky. Someone said that someone was a real suck-up. And then one man in a black suit put out his cigarette and asked the guy he was so scared that he couldn't beg for a word. Qin Chen sighed and said that he might not look worthy to Su Wan right now, but one day they would all change their minds. To which Shang Hua said by clapping his hands, well said, as expected from his classmate. He was sucking up to him once again. And then all the people started saying behind him that he was a good Qin Chen and all that. Su Wan and Qin Chen were walking down the stairs and Qin Chen said he didn't expect to be on stage today. He wasn't ready for this. Su Wan asked Qin Chen if he was uncomfortable, but he did a great job. And then her grandfather came up to them with that man in black and introduced him. His name was Chen Quan and he was engaged in the sale of building materials in Bincheng. Their cooperation cannot be avoided, so it would be good to get to know each other better, the old man added. And then Qin Chen saw something strange, and he told the man that with all due respect, he'd better take off his bracelet. Dark energy was coming out of the bracelet. Dark energy was coming out of his bracelet. Qin Chen told him how to explain it to him. As I need money for the dead, so the living should not come into contact with such bracelets. If he continues to wear it, then he or someone else from his family may suffer and let him think about it. To which he indignantly said that his son had brought him this bracelet from the temple to attract wealth. Would a monk deceive him? To which Qin Chen asked if his son could turn to an evil sorcerer. Chen Quan got angry and called his guard and told him to teach him a good lesson. And then he looked at the old man and told him not to hold a grudge against him. The old man looked at the girl and asked if she was going to help him. Su Wan replied in the negative and said that they had already put him in an uncomfortable position. But he knows how to deal with this. If he fails, he will not be able to gain a foothold in this city. And she added that she believes in him and he has never disappointed her. That guard wanted to hit him, but Qin Chen held his hand and hit him so hard that he flew to the side. The guard barely got up from his seat and told his master that he would have to do it. To which he shouted, let him do it, do whatever it takes. He got up and apologized in advance for this. And launching his energy, he shouted a strike of combat energy. Qin Chen realized that this was the first level of Kai purification, or maybe 2 or even higher, but he believed he could handle it. They started the fight. The guard realized that he was the same as him and in that case he decided not to be kind to him, and quickly disappearing from Qin Chen's sight. While he didn't understand where he had gone, the man attacked him from behind, but Qin Chen was able to block his blow. Due to the impact, the ground under his feet cracked, and the guard shouted that he wasn't finished yet. Jumping, he hit the ground so hard with his foot that a large pit was transformed on the ground. Su Wan and the old man began to worry about the guy. The guard also said that this was the end of the boy from the Su family. And then, to his surprise, Qin Chen came out of the dust and took his hands. And I asked him this is all that he is capable of. Taking him with both hands, he uses his strength to hit him so hard that the man flew off the border of the garden. After looking at the man, Qin Chen said that he had won. The man barely replied that he would admit defeat. The old man smiled and said that he did not expect that he would be so good, but Su Wan was glad that he was not badly hurt. Sheng Kuang started talking to Qin Chen more respectfully and said that despite his experience, he did not think there was anything wrong with this bracelet. To which Qin Chen told him if he wants, let him believe if he doesn't want to, because it's not about the fate of his family that we are talking about. The man asked him if they could argue. Qin Chen, uncomprehending, looked at him. He said if nothing happens to his family for 3 days, then Qin Chen will kneel down and apologize to him in front of the whole city. Qin Chen agreed and asked if something was going to happen. Our furious man said that then he would kneel in front of him. Qin Chen raised his hand and said that he agreed. And then they show us how hiding in the bushes 2 people talked to each other looking at them. One of them said maybe this Qin Chen is dangerous, to which the other replied that he was only at the 3rd stage of Kai purification and that they were afraid of him. And he added that he just needed to get rid of it. Night came. They had a big banquet in the garden, and many famous and rich people were talking to each other and enjoying the banquet. And then his ex-wife's sister came up to Qin Chen. She had a wooden box on her hands and she said that Grandpa had given it to him and asked him to take it. To which Qin Chen asked why he did not come himself but still accepted. To which Qin Chen asked why he did not come himself but still accepted the box. To which Su Wan replied that he did not come because he was still very weak physically. He didn't want to be rude to him and the Su family. Qin Chen raised his hand and said that he would accept it and added that she could go. The girl was a little sad and said that then she would not bother him with Miss Su. Su Wan asked Qin Chen what it was. Qin Chen said he didn't know and Grandpa Lin passed it on to him. When he opened the box, he saw there a black stone, a small dragon made of jade stone and a letter on which was written to my dear son. Opening the box, Qin Chen saw the letter, and Su Wan said that Grandpa had sent him a letter. He wanted to open the letter but Su Wan stopped him saying there were too many people here. It's better to open it later in private. Some time later he was already in another room where there were no windows. He was brought here by Su Wan saying that this is their secret room. He can read the letter here. Qin Chen thought that Su Wan was so cautious that he himself began to worry. And yet I decided to open the letter. When he opened the letter, he saw a neat handwriting there. It was written that he should not go to the capital and not look for his mother. No matter how much he wanted to meet her, he had to restrain himself. Qin Chen had to remember that he had a special power, and his mom is an ordinary person, and her name was Zhu Qin. The future is always pondering, but he always has to that he is the guardian of the dragon's power. After reading the letter, he wondered even more. Who is her mother and where she lives, and how to measure its strength. After putting down the letter, he said that this world is much more complicated than he thought. Qin Chen left the room and joined the banquet. Su Wan noticed him and approached him and asked if he had read the letter. Qin Chen responded positively, and then one of the guards burst into the banquet hall and shouted that trouble had happened. Something bad happened in the house. Mr. Su asked if Mr. Chen hadn't just gone home. What could have happened? The guard said that after Mr. Chen's arrival at the estate, his wife abruptly acquired and began waving a kitchen knife. The guards managed to escape and he came here to call someone for help. Mr. Su asked the others who would go. The others said that even if they go, what can they do? The best solution was to hire a person who understands this, to which Qin Chen stated that he would go there. Hearing his words, people were surprised and asked what he could do, how he can help them. Qin Chen looked at Su Wan. She looked at him and told him to be careful. Qin Chen smiled and said he would be careful. Night came. There were stars and a moon in the sky. We are shown the estate of Mr. Chen Kuang. The inside of the estate was a real mess, and his wife was sitting on the ground bound with chains. Chen Kuang's security guard Scar told him that they had temporarily calmed her down, but it couldn't go on like this for long. Chen Kuang said that everything was fine. He has already called a specialist. Still, he admitted that King Chen was right, and we need to get rid of the bracelet. And then Qin Chen entered the manor. Seeing such a picture in front of him, he said impressive. Chen Kuang saw him and shouted what he was doing here, to which he replied didn't he send his man for help? To which Chen Kuang replied positively, but added that he did not mean him, to which Qin Chen told him that if he didn't take off the bracelet, it would be too late. And then Chen Kuang's son came down the stairs and said that this thing is a sacred thing. He personally brought it from the temple, and sarcastically asked if it was possible to take it and throw it away. And his father said he hadn't heard. This temple is hundreds of kilometers away. Would someone who is so far away harm him? To which Qin Chen looked at his son and told him that it was better for him to tell the truth. To which he stammered a little and said that he had personally brought him, and let him not think to intimidate him, and shouted at him to get out of here. Qin Chen crossed his arms over his chest and said that he would leave well. If everything is as he said, then he will leave. But when they come to ask him for help, he will remember everything to them. To which the man waved his hand and said that he was sure that after his departure everything would get better for them. He was just a babbler that had no power. And then Mr. Bai entered the estate. Chen Kuang and his son Venerable greeted him, and they asked him to examine the woman. Master Bai saw the guy and greeted him, calling him Master Qin. And he whispered to the guy, is everything so bad? If he failed to cope, then he is afraid that he is powerless in this matter at all. To which Qin Chen replied with a smile that no, he hadn't even started. After all, they look at him from above, so they decided to drive him away. And the master still decided to try it himself. When he started to take his instruments to start the session, the woman went crazy again and broke off the chain. Seeing this, the master fell into shock because the chains broke and something or someone definitely moved into her. He was afraid that his skills would not help here. The man took him by the scruff of the neck and shouted, and what should they do now? If something happens to his wife, he will never forgive him for it. To which the master, pointing to the guy, said that he was much stronger than he was if he did not succeed. The situation would be hopeless at all. Chen Kuang still approached him and respectfully asked him to save his wife. To which Qin Chen told him he had said that he would kneel before him and ask for forgiveness in front of the whole city. To which the man stammered that it was somehow too much. Maybe they will solve everything with money. And the man confidently said that he would pay 50 million for it. And I asked him if that would be enough. Qin Chen still thought about it. He thought that it was really an impressive amount. But what to do when the money runs out? It's better to think about perspective. There were a lot of shelves behind the man. Inside the shelves were precious medicine and herbs. Qin Chen thought that the contents of these shelves were worth much more than 50 million. And he told the man that it wasn't that he didn't want to help them. It's just that it will have to use up forces that will then have to be restored for a long time. And then Chen Kuang himself offered him all these paychecks, saying that he could choose any herbs that he had, or even give him everything. Qin Chen agreed to this and the man thanked him for it. Qin Chen held out his hand and said he was waiting. Chen Kuang, not understanding, looked at him and then Qin Chen shouted to him that he was talking about the bracelet and let him take it off immediately. The man was confused, but still took off the bracelet and gave it to him. Qin Chen took the bracelet and thought that he did not know where this bracelet came from, but now that he had it, he had nowhere to go. And with the help of his magic power, he destroyed the bracelet. After that, the woman fainted and ate her body. All the negative energy is gone. The bike master said that is expected from the guy. He did everything 100%. Qin Chen looked around and asked the man where his son had gone, and then he noticed it. The same one said it wasn't his fault, it wasn't him, and still began to run towards the exit. Suddenly, he was able to be restrained by Chen Kuang's Scar guard. He asked the guy what they should do with him, to which he replied that it was not very convenient to conduct interrogations here and they would take him to him. Night has come and we are shown the Villa Lunhaitian. Qin Chen sat in the garden and watched Scar beat the man's son, telling him to tell him what he knew, to which he said that he would tell everything. His face was swollen and covered with bruises from the blows. Qin Chen was thinking why the Scar decided to help him, and then he remembered their dialogue that he had come to him and said that from today he would follow him, to which Qin Chen said that he would not pay the salary. And Scar replied that everything was fine, just feeding was enough. Qin Chen was thinking how things turned out like this. The man's son said that a month ago he met a man in the temple. He said that the bracelet would protect him and his family for a whole famine and he agreed, to which Qin Chen intervened and asked. And he did not think about the fact that free cheese only happens in a mousetrap, to which he desperately replied that this is the best temple in the country. Who would have thought that there are such people in it? He could not even imagine that everything would turn out like this. Usually he does not accept such gifts just like that and from anyone, since his family is engaged in business. He had lunch with this man several times. He said that he got his bracelet from his older brother. He wore the same one. The reason he gave it to me is solely because he wants to do a good deed. After much questioning, he told him that where to find an expert. Shu and Mingfu is one of the largest clans improving in the city. Even though they work with dark energy, many people turn to them for help, to which Qin Chen annoyingly asked so he knew their history and went anyway, to which he got angry and hitting the ground with his fist said that he was rarely offered such help and plus what kind of energy they use. What difference does it make to whom they pay? But I didn't think it would turn out like this. Qin Chen sighed wearily and said that he would never understand the rich. After looking at our frames, he told him to take him home. And then he thought that at first glance, this clan is engaged in luring the rich into its trap, but if you think carefully, isn't their target the Su family? If he hadn't taken the initiative at that time, Mr. Su would have sent another person there. It's not clear how all this would have turned out for the Su family, given the discovery at the construction site. He would never believe that no one was hunting the Su family. As for the suspects, Qin Chen still did not decide to start with the Xianming clan. He came to the forest and sat down in the lotus position to meditate, and then he thought that this is a strong clan that specializes in curses. Their elder is at the upper stage of foundation construction and their methods are always effective. The clan is closely linked to the local bureaucracy and is behind many incidents. In this case, the clan is just a tool in someone's hands. It was necessary to deal with them to find out who is behind the scene. But Qin Chen, you were angry because he can't do this right now. But still he decided to take up this case and grinning maliciously said that with so many herbs he was sure that by nightfall he would reach a huge process. And he started eating them. The next morning, Qin Chen barely stood up from his bed and held onto his stomach. He thought they looked good, but their quality is very questionable. They don't do much good. But he still managed to get to 6 levels of Kai purification. And then Scar came into his room and said that he had been sent to invite him to dinner at Mr. Su's house. And Qin Chen asked what was the reason, to which he stood still and said that there was no reason, just let him be there at noon. Qin Chen asked him if he had already eaten, to which Scar responded positively. And Qin Chen also asked where he sleeps, to which he replied that in the yard. When asked if he was cold, he said no. And Qin Chen still decided that there are a lot of empty rooms here and so he can sleep in one of them so as not to catch a cold. And besides, he will show him a couple of exercises thanks to which his muscles will hurt much less. Scar sparkled with joy and thanked him for it, to which Qin Chen confusedly replied that it was not worth thanking. Qin Chen came to Su Manor. The maid opened the door for him and greeted him. Qin Chen thought that they usually just call him, but today it's so official. Something must have happened. When he entered the hall, he saw a tall guy and a girl. Qin Chen looked at him and grinned and said a ragamuffin like him cured Mr. Su. He'll never believe it. And the most important attraction is high-quality ingredients. Taking one from his box, he said that it was a Tianshan snow lotus which he asked to find a special one for Mr. Su. When he opened the box, they saw a white and sparkling lotus inside the box. And he said that simply put, he is able to prolong a person's life. Mr. Sun said it was wonderful. Qin Chen, skeptically looking at it, said that it was some kind of rot and not a gift. To which he was indignant and said he at least knows how much the snow lotus costs, and that Qin Chen took out a small box from his pocket and opened it. Inside the box was a green pill. Qin Chen said that it was a spiritual cultivation pill that he had been working on all night. It will significantly increase his spiritual power. To which the guy asked skeptically, "Isn't this a candy that is sold at the gates of the school?" To which Qin Chen angrily shouted at him that this pill was worth tens of millions. and they started fighting verbally, saying bad words to each other. The guy couldn't stand it and took the girl by the hand and said that it didn't matter. He's the future son-in-law of the Sue family. There's no need for him to compete with someone like him. Doesn't he realize that he has a number of advantages just because he saved Mr. Sue? He's just useless trash. Does he deserve to have lunch with them at the same table? After all, a husband needs to choose from a good family like his. When their families unite, they will not have problems with money. Kin Chen irritably said money and asked the guy if he was not able to think about something besides money. The whole marriage is not for the sake of profitable deals, but for love. What's the point of marriage if you don't love each other? To which the one said who said he didn't love the girl. Kin Chen slapped her hands and said that besides, the future is in talent and strength and not in money. And he's a real trash in his eyes. He began to get angry and Kin Chen asked him if he was tired of scratching his tongue. To which he became enraged and hit the guy in the chest. But the blow did not affect the guy, on the contrary. He broke his arm. He started screaming in pain and said that his arm hurt a lot. Looking furiously at the guy, he said he would deal with him later. Kin Chen sighed and said that Mr. Knuckle was another fool again. Rubbed his eyes and said that this Kin Chen was the son of a large industrialist's family. Not only local businesses are trying to enlist their support, and he told the guy that he had brought a big trouble on himself. To which Kin Chen said everything is fine and asked them to listen to him. He wanted to sing something to them. Kin Chen said that a few days ago he dug up a knife at a construction site. A curse was placed on it, just like on that bracelet. At first he thought it was just a coincidence, but then he realized that only one family would suffer from these events, and the Sue family. When he first met Mr. Sue, he felt the same energy as from these items. But so far he could not understand what it was and who was behind it all. Sue Wang and Mr. Sue heard him and laughed a little, and Kin Chen absently asked, "What is it?" To which Sue Wan replied that up to who in this small town would dare to attack their family. And besides, she knows who's behind it all. And Kin Chen asked who it was if his help was needed in this. To which Sue Wan replied no and said that he could not remove this curse, like none of their family. And the consequences of an open conflict will be huge. To which Kin Chen asked, is there really no way to solve all this? Mr. Sue replied that he was, but the time had not yet come. Kin Chen did not understand them. And then Sue Wan took the cup and showed the guy if he knew what it was. Some kind of estate was depicted on the cup. And Kin Chen said that he had heard about this place but didn't really know anything about it. To which Sue Wan said that they used to live there and they were the most respected family in the capital. And unfortunately they were kicked out with their grandfather. 2 years later, he and his grandfather settled in gasoline, starting from the very bottom. They gradually took their current position, but there are people stronger than them because they are not omnipotent. Soon the enemy found them. After the difficulties experienced, the life she is now living is a real blessing. Kin Chen seriously said that he didn't know what had happened to them, but he promised them that he would help them get back everything they had lost. To which Sue Wan asked Grandpa why she didn't think about it in that way, and viciously said that she would never forget her humiliation. One day he will make them go through with it. And then she came to her senses and coughed and said that she was carried away by something. She wanted to say that first he needs to get back on his feet and not deal with their family's affairs. But what Kin Chen said is that 3 years and they will regain their former greatness. He will make the capital fall at their feet. Sue Wan smiled and said that then she would ask again, and asked if he would be able to cope with all the problems himself. To which Kin Chen raised his hand and said that he had sworn to do it. Here we are shown another large estate of the rich. Pat Nito's son-in-law told his father that he had done nothing. And this Kin Chen just attacked him and beat him. And pointing to his hand said that he hit so hard feeling a big bruise formed. He also heard that he almost beat some man to death. And he said that if he didn't stand up for him, he would do the same to him. His dad said menacingly that he thought Kin Chen would dare to touch him. To which the guy said that he was a real psycho. His father pushed him away and asked him if he was beating people half to death like that why he let him go. And then he added that he thinks that Kin Chen realized his mistake and was scared. The guy happily asked if he was going to teach him a lesson, to which he replied that idiots are not teachable. But this is a great opportunity to teach a lesson to the Sue family. And didn't he want to get a girl, and he thought that soon his dream would come true. He entered the Sue estate. Seeing him at the maid and the servants began to dissuade him and stop him, but no one could stop him. Entering the room, he shouted, "What is it really so bad that they won't even come out to greet him?" And then Kin Chen came out and smiled and asked, he must be Dai Keo's father. He asked plaintively if he had beaten his son. To which Kin Chen replied that he had caused a commotion in front of Mr. Sue and what was wrong with him teaching him a lesson. And inside, he awkwardly thought that it was somehow inconvenient to say such a thing to such a person. But he did not show his emotions with his face. The man said that he would now teach him a lesson from the Sue family.